Hey guys, welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney 2. Let's carry on where we left off. We've uncovered a few new things about the now mysterious Inspector Gregson and the moments leading up to his death. In particular, when he actually died and what he was investigating prior to his demise. And, well, we've got these two clowns hoping to bring us up to speed with what he was doing at the Red-Headed League meeting in the park. Here's hoping we can shed some light on what exactly may have led to the inspector getting murdered, and what Van Zieks has to do with all of this, considering he's our client. Here we go. The truth is, we took him prisoner and kept him for the night at our secret hideout. Tell me more about that. Apparently he was still alive the entire time. Do you realize what you're saying? You're admitting to a crime. Although I suppose they're backed into a corner, I'd happily confess to a kidnapping if I hadn't actually murdered someone and I was on the hook for it. You have to believe me. I never intended for that to happen. And I'm sure the detective did not intend it either. No, I don't suppose detectives try to get themselves captured. Do you think? But there was nothing else I could do. See, nothing else. This was a reverse crime for the capo. He was at the end of his wits. I have told you before, Peppino, that is not the way to describe a criminal mastermind. What about this hideout of yours? An old empty house behind the park on Lime Street. We rented the place for 2 days. It was an inspired idea by the capo here. An impulsive idea, I would say. No, not impulsive. Inspired. Hey, capo. What am I supposed to say to that, huh, Peppino? And it was in the house described that you could find Inspector Gregson, was it? Oui. But you have to remember, I was under the impression that he was a pretender, not a real inspector. That doesn't quite add up, though. If you didn't think the man was a real inspector, why the hell did you kidnap him in the first place? There would have been no reason to take him prisoner, would there? No, you are right, but we couldn't be completely certain. Well, some criminal mastermind you were. Even though I did not think he was a real detective, I was too scared to let him go that day, just in case.
Hold it!
I feel like we're gonna need to press every statement to start off with and see what we can come up with. Too scared, why? Because why had he come to the park? We didn't know. There was a chance that he had seen through my plan. And if that was the case, he would go straight to the police station to blow the whistle on us. Even if he was just feigning to be an inspector, he was up to no good, huh? Without a doubt. I think most people would agree that it's you two who were up to no good. Well, that's your opinion. You may be right, eh, capo? The point is, we were not able to escape from England immediately. That is why we had no choice but to take the man prisoner. What I don't understand is why the inspector felt the need to show you his identification in the first place. Yeah, apparently that's not common and bad practice to do so. In fact, it convinced pretty much everyone that it couldn't have been Inspector Gregson, because why would they show their identification? See, I asked myself the same question. We were writing down the names and addresses of all the people who we took 5 shillings from that day. I have forgotten what name he said, but the address, it startled me. See, address Scotland Yard Homicide Division, he said. What, he lives in his office, does he? What? He probably didn't like your face, Peppino. Anyway, I was not rude. I just politely asked him why he had said it. And that's when he started to say he was an inspector. Not long afterwards, he took out his identification. What was Inspector Gregson playing at? What was going on? Was he drugged? Was he poisoned? Someone put something in his wedges that morning? Tell the court what happened next. You took him back to your hideout, you say. See, we did. Yeah, okay, you did. We took the man's identification from him and shut him in the next room to ours. God, it's so hard. Going with these European accents all the freaking time. That being this identification book here, correct? See, that is the one. What made you believe that it was a forgery? I never seen a real one, of course. But he was so suspicious, this man. Allora, I was thinking, it must be falso. Hey, capo. Oui, it is just as Peppino has said. We were convinced it was not genuine. And so together, the hilarious brothers, we took the man captive. All we did was shove him inside a locked room. Then we made preparations to transport all of the money. In for a penny, in for a pound. Oh yeah, they were committed. They also committed to this crying act. They might have been a little tussle, but we did him no harm. And the next morning we let him go.
Hold it!
What do you mean by a little tussle exactly? Oh, it was nothing. Just a minor incident. The falso inspector, he was a real piece of the work. A capo. What happened? Uffa, it was a disaster. We gave him a nice room, and what does he do, huh? In the middle of the night, he tries to escape through the ventilatore. Can you blame him? We chased him, bien sûr, and we caught him again. Can you blame us? No. Wait, you didn't shoot the man in your haste, did you? Who do you think we are? Of course not. I simply caught hold of him again and took him back to their room. Oh? Yes?
Excuse me.
What do you got to say, you blabbermouth? You got plenty you want to talk about your capo. Mr. De Rossi, is there something wrong? Hi, me, De Rossi. Something Mr. De Rousseau just said seemed to make you... squeal? Well, it seemed to make you act even more strangely than usual. What was that all about? Cavolo, at times like that you don't want to have the capo after you believe me. And I speak from a personal experience. Personal experience, I'm guessing? That is enough, Peppino. There is no need to say more. The truth is, the night before we put the Red-Headed League plan into action, I was scared. It was not fair to the capo, but I tried to run away. It's a shame you didn't manage it, or that you got shot in the back. But the capo here, he came after me like the turbine, huh? And he dragged me back to the house, kicking and screaming. I still have the bruises to prove it. Hey, capo. Bruises, you say? You want to see ya? You want to see my fantastic bruises? That's enough now, Peppino. No one wants to look at any part of you. What to do, huh? I show you, or I don't. I show you, or I don't. I think I can see some ligature marks there on your neck. Were you lassoed on a leash? You too, now! Allora, if everybody wants to see that I do it. There it is. Echo, you see? You're still very visible, eh? That red ring around your neck? You got that when you were dragged back to the house? See, the capo, sometimes he is very rough. And I said that's enough. Peppino's neck is nothing to do with what we are talking about here. You have my word. Do we? Your word is not worth a lot. Yes, what's your opinion, Counsel? I think his word's full of shit. About this red ring around Mr. De Rossi's neck. I wonder, does it matter? Of course it's important. If you have to ask, yes. Mr. De Rossi, I'm going to have to ask you to amend your testimony with details about that mark on your neck. Hi, capo. You see? Everyone is interested in what I say, yeah? Ugh. Very well, you will amend your testimony. Or you testimony, as requested, Mr. De Rossi. You should amend your text box there, Judge. See, if you really want to know. He tried to escape, but the capo put the collar on him and dragged him back like what he did to me, see? Okay, so you're saying he put the collar on him and dragged him back like what he did to you. Does this mean we can present the photo? Although, you can't exactly see his neck clearly in this, can you? I'm just gonna present it anyway and see what happens.
Objection!
Okay, there we go. So the day before his body was discovered, Inspector Gregson was taken prisoner while working incognito. No, it was not like that. It was hardly a prison. It was an invitation to stay. It was homely. Homely? However you describe it, there's one glaring inconsistency that remains.
What inconsistency is this, Counsel?
I would ask the court to look closely at this photograph of the victim, Inspector Gregson, in case there was still any doubt that he's actually dead. You will see that there is no red ring visible around his neck, although his collar is really high up there.
Eh? But that makes no sense. It was me who took the collar off the man in the morning. And I saw the red bruises on his neck, just like I have.
Ah, so what the hell's going on here? Did you accidentally kidnap someone else? Mr. Vigil, perhaps? I feel like I need to present this photo at some point going, was this the man you collared? Or collared? Given that the mark is still clearly visible on this witness's neck, we'd expect to see bruising on the victim, who was put in the collar more recently than Mr. DeRossi.
Indeed, that is most peculiar.
But what we tell you, huh?
We say this from the beginning, many times.
Peppino is right. The man in the photograph. He is someone different to the man we held captives that night. Really?
Order, order, order!
It would appear then that on the day before the incident, the man who visited the park on Lime Street posing as an incognito inspector was not Inspector Gregson at all.
Objection!
Alright, there we go. If that's true, however, how do you explain the inspector's identification? How did he get a hold of it? Was it given to him? This is a genuine identification book issued by Scotland Yard. It's inconceivable that someone could have stolen such an important item from the inspector. The prosecution made that assertion itself. Yeah, take your own words back. Eat 'em.
And we also know that the inspector had made a note about the Red-Headed League in his diary for that day, which surely means we can't divorce the two events completely. The inconsistency noted by the defense is most troubling. It's like they're doing their job. It's amazing. If it were the real Inspector Gregson whom these two red-headed gentlemen encountered, the fact that no bruising can be seen around his neck defies explanation.
But equally, if they actually encountered an imposter, how did that person come to be in possession of the real inspector's identification?
Does the defense have some plausible explanation, Counsel?
The whole thing defies explanation. It stinks.
It is for precisely these occasions that we keep meticulous notes in the court record, Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh, that's why we do it, okay.
Because those are the facts, and the facts cannot lie.
No, the facts can't lie. Even when they point to something so incredible, it's almost unbelievable. You know what else doesn't lie? Shakira's hips. Had to say it. Well, my lord, the true identity of the person who turned up in the park for the Red-Headed League's enrollment is revealed by information in the court record, I believe.
Good gracious.
Very tantalizing, Mr. Naruhodo. So why don't you help us all to see whatever truth it is that you've apparently seen? Who exactly was this inspector that appeared before Mr. de Rousseau and Mr. de Rossi? It's all in the court record, so I will let you know in a moment. Just give me a second. Was it Inspector Gregson or was it somebody else? This is indeed Inspector Gregson dead. And, if it's a different person to the person that's in this photo, you would have to assume it's an imposter. Though it seems incredible, I admit, the undeniable facts point to only one thing. Since no bruising can be seen on the victim's neck, the person who these two red-headed clowns took prisoner that day cannot have been Inspector Gregson. In other words, your whole argument up to now has been a waste of time.
Objection!
On the contrary, I haven't finished, alright? Jesus. Normally it's the prosecution's argument that's a waste of time, okay? Because I have to bloody tangle through all your contradictions and lies. What? There's no bruising on the victim's neck, so the question immediately posed next is, who exactly was this man in the park on Lime Street found to be carrying Inspector Gregson's identification?
See, that's right. We tell the same story every time. Whoever this man was, the couple dragged him from the pillar to a post with the dog collar.
Mon Dieu, Peppino! I was not so harsh as you say, huh?
So was that a false inspector, eh? Who was he?
Clearly, the defense has an idea about that. About the true identity of the man these two imprisoned that night.
I must ask the counsel for the defense to elaborate post-haste. Who did the witnesses encounter in the park posing as Inspector Gregson?
Man, there's a lot of people in here. Good God. That's a lot of people. I mean, it's going to be daily vigil. It must be. He's missing, after all. Kazuma Sogi, nice haircut there. I just wanted to double check everyone that was in the court record here. Okay, let's go.
Take that!
It's surely no secret. This is the identity of the imposter. Oh, really? On what grounds? Well, I said it was no secret, but that part is... you know, because he's there and he hasn't had his relevance shown yet.
Dear me, if ever a penalty was in order, it's now, I feel.
Like at the punishment, the couple can lend you his collar if you want to. Perhaps my learned friend needs to experience what it feels like to be dragged around the streets by the neck. Okay, that's a bit much, Kazuma. You don't need to out my BDSM tendencies. I'll use my imagination, thanks. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, the red ring produced by the collar is clearly the crux of the matter here. Yes, the bruising around the neck. Sorry. Yeah, I'll fall back on that. I dropped the gun a little bit.
Must ask the counsel for the defense to elaborate.
Okay, back to experiencing... Well, I did see that, didn't I?
Take that!
Gossip.
Goodness me! Isn't that...
One of the witnesses who was in the stand in this very courtroom earlier today. A nameless man, whose only occupation appears to be peddling hearsay to passers-by.
Objection!
What on earth would a street seller be doing with a police inspector's identification papers? Witnesses! Is this the man or not? What has happened to his lip? What? See, this man is not for the Red-Headed League, eh? He's looking for the Twisted Lip League, no? Perhaps rather than making such a rash claim next time, you should bite your lip instead. It seems improbable, yes. But once again, you're wrong, Kazuma. One undeniable fact remains. During his testimony earlier, I noted something around the man's neck. A red ring of bruising. Like a freaking Xbox 360 from the early 2000s. Eh? What? The defense demands that Mr. Gossip be brought back to the stand. Alright. We're getting somewhere.
Order! Order! Bailiff! Bring the aforementioned witness back into the courtroom. Immediately! God, I need to get my tongue in check. I'm all over my words.
Okay. Here he comes. Well, yeah, look at that. Thanks for revealing that to us. Matching!
Well, I never. An undeniable ring of bruising indeed. And identical to that of the witness beside him.
What's going on here, eh? I've always had this, me. It's a birthmark, isn't it? A birthmark, you say? You were collared around at birth? What, the umbilical cord got stuck? I assume the reason you've been recalled to the stand has been explained to you. Something about an inspector again. But I'm telling you, you've got it all wrong as usual. You're denying all knowledge of it? Well, of course I am. Are you trying to kill me with all this nonsense, eh? Well, at least you'll have more stories to peddle back on Fresno Street, won't you? Now, we're going to need you to testify again. And you, Mr. DeRousseau and Mr. DeRossi, I'm sure you'll cooperate, won't you? Do we have any choice? We are in a bigger trouble, eh, Capo?
That's quite enough dilatory chatter. Proceed with the testimony.
Okay. What's next down this rabbit hole? The inspector and the identification revisited. The man who claimed to be an inspector that day was definitely not this man. He's right, see? You think we would have forget these grand lips, huh? He's been injecting something into them, probably, to disguise his identity. I never leave Fresno Street, alright? I have no interest in any red-headed league. I'm all alone in this world, me. I'm no kinfolk or nothing. Why would I be involved in something like that? Just look at me, eh? Does it look like I could carry off a disguise with a face like this? That hair, though, I feel like I know exactly where I need to present some information, or evidence, sorry. When he talks about no kinship, I need to present his darling wife in that photograph.
It would certainly appear that we have the wrong man.
What have I been telling you, ah? There was no need for this pointless testimony. Ugh. That's right. I'm just a simple peddler, remember? Fresno Street's all I know. How would I have come by a police inspector's identification book, eh? Well, yes, that's hard to explain, but...
A brief cross-examination, I think, Counsel. Very brief.
Don't rush me. Isn't there anyone in this courtroom who thinks I might be on or something? I stand steadfastly at your side as always, Mr. Naruhodo. I guess I'm technically right. It was him. It's just... he's looking a bit different these days. Alright. Cross-examination, but before we commence, let me just double-check the court record real quick. That's him. When was this taken? Like, surely that was years ago. If we just, oh, sorry. I'm going to people. There he is there. And there's this guy here. Yeah, certainly the same kind of hair. A different color. And those lips, though. Quite exaggerated. Okay, let's go over to his kinship. You never leave Fresno Street, is that so? Actually, let's start with this. So, you'd heard of the Red-Headed League, had you? You don't get a name like Gossip for nothing, eh? It's my business to know what's going off in town. I sold that tasty tidbit to a fair few redheads that came past me. Just between us, I even got sandwiched to cough up for it. Well, he does have a very red nose, if that counts. It's the Red-Headed League, Susato, not the Red-Nosed League, otherwise Rudolph would have participated. Who knows? But as you can see, my own hair's not got a hint of red in it. And in any case, Fresno Street's my patch. You won't catch me sidling off to some other part of town. No, sir, not likely. Ooh, okay.
Excuse me.
I feel like that's your address, where Inspector Gregson was killed. Mr. de Rousseau. Ugh. We can help you. Mr. Gossip's words just now lead you to remember something relevant, perhaps? It was the other day, when I was looking for a place near the park. A small house or something. To be the headquarters of your Red-Headed League, yes. I visited an housing agent on Lime Street, and there I saw him. This man was paying money to the agent. What? Mr. Gossip? With a housing agent? Oui. He had some kind of contract in his... and they were clearly discussing terms. In his hand, sorry. No, you're mistaken, chum. I've never left Fresno Street, me. Like I said before. You've mistaken me for someone else. Someone with the same face. No, the cop was right. I remember it too. He was paying the man with the banknotes. With notes? Like I said, that wasn't me. I was curious why there's a man with the dirty clothes and so much money. So I looked at the name on the papers. And what name was written? Mr. Gossip? No, this man, he lies. He tells you that he has no name. But in fact his name is Hugh Boone, no? He's better than Mr. Gossip, I think, see? Hugh Boone. What do you know? No! I'm a peddler of tidbits of information, like I said. On Fresno Street. And that's that. I don't much like folk talking about my personal life.
Indeed. And it is not the intention of the court to invade the privacy of witnesses. Very well. I shall respect your wishes, sir. The aforementioned name shall be redacted from all court records of this trial. Assuming no objections?
Objection!
I fucking object, Your Honor. I'm sorry, my lord, but the defense does object. Yeah, that's right. I'm not doing it just because I can. Because the name just mentioned has a very deep significance to this case.
Good gracious. Do you similarly object, Prosecutor Asogi?
As it happens, my lord, that particular name has already been mentioned during today's proceedings, you dumb oaf. Don't you remember?
Well, I never. In what capacity?
Hugh Boone. The name of the leaseholder of the room. Let me put this very simply. The victim's body was discovered in your rented room. I suggest, sir, that you start talking. Well, alright. I suppose that might be the case, eh? Go on. We know your wife reported you missing because you got kidnapped, so your real name is Hugh Boone. Nope, it's just another... It's another smokescreen. We've moved to Boone on his nameplate there. Well, just between us, I don't like to blow my own trumpet, but there's no finer peddler of titbits in town. So I happen to be able to afford a grubby little room in the falling down backstreet townhouse.
You do?
And once every 6 months, I go and pay the rent to the agent on Lime Street. I remember it now. There were 2 vulgar redheads in there last time. Hey, if either of us is a vulgar, is not a me. Think again, Peppino. Why didn't you bring this up before? It's like I told you already. I don't like talking about my personal life. I'm a tidbit peddler as far as everyone else is concerned. No fuss. And you didn't pay for this information as well, so there's that.
You will update your testimony to include this most surprising revelation, Mr. Boone.
I guess the judge doesn't care about your privacy anymore either. If I must. So the leaseholder Scotland Yard has been looking for since the body was discovered. Has been here under our noses all along. Oh yeah, he has. I rent the room where that fellow was found. It's true, for what difference it makes. I feel like it's too early to present the photograph here. Let's press this. And then we'll press this, and then we'll present the photo. Just to be sure. Just to be completely safe, cover our bases. So, you live in that room, presumably, do you? No, I don't live there. What do you think? There's no bed, is there? Just a desk. Then, why would you want to rent it? Well, I don't think I should have to say, really. Then how about the notice board in there? Which was covered from top to bottom in confidential documents only the police should have had access to. No, that board's not mine. The inspector must have brought it along. It's only the other bits and bobs that belong to me. The desk and the chair and that. People don't generally carry enormous notice boards around with them. It doesn't quite fit in their pocket. The real question is, why was Inspector Gregson killed there, in your room? Well, obviously, I've not the faintest idea. I mean, it's causing me no end of bother, to be honest. I seems to me that Mr. Gossip, sorry, Mr. Boone, we get more typos as we get closer to the end of the game, would rather as little as knowing about his room as possible for some reason. Yes, it does come across that way, and more importantly, knowing that the scene of the crime is actually his room completely changes things. In particular, there's one part of his testimony that's really bothering me now. I think we're safe to present it. That's how I'm finally going to undo this man. Jeez, that sounds ominous. Alright, here, let's go.
Objection!
Now that you've updated your testimony, if you have no kinfolk, as you put it, then explain why it is that among the sparse furnishings, we found this photograph in the room. I presume, as you've been renting the room, that this photograph belongs to you, does it not? Oh, well... Yeah, rookie mistake putting that there. Mr. Boone, drop the pretense and tell the court exactly who you really are.
I don't know what you mean. I'm a peddler. I keep telling you so. You really don't need to bother with me. Please. Just leave it alone. As the man says, leave it alone. Whatever the truth is about this man's life, it has no bearing on this case. Because it's simply not possible that he impersonated Inspector Gregson.
Objection.
Come on, my cool-ass theme is playing. How can you be so sure?
Just look at the man. No amount of disguise could ever hide those unmissable features.
Objection.
But what if we were to look at this the other way around? What if he's in disguise right now?
What do you mean? Yes, Counsel, what do you mean?
Well, there's no denying that Mr. Boone's lip is very prominent indeed. It's your typical ace attorney character feature, but consider the possibility that his prominent lip is itself part of an elaborate disguise. Then hiding behind that prominent feature, in other words, revealing his true face, would make an utterly impenetrable disguise. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Hubu? That's your name, isn't it? Yeah.
Nice little tease. Good witness, are you still hiding the truth from this court?
I mean, this court? And Judge, please. He's no longer wearing his collar. You don't have to call him a good witness.
If that's a disguise, then underneath it, his true identity must be...
Yes, that's right. There's really only one person he could really be. And Judge, I'd really like my penalty back because I was correct all along. I just didn't have his current day identity presented. My lord, the defense believes it can reveal Mr. Boone's true identity to the court.
No, please, no.
I mean, he's begging us not to do it. I feel like his life might be in danger if we reveal it. We should probably do it in confidence. Then again, this is a closed court, right?
Very well then, Counsel. Ruin this man's life. What is the true identity of this peddler who goes simply by the name of Gossip on the Street?
Alright, I'll present it now.
Take that.
Your real name is actually Mr. Vigil, isn't it? Mr. Daily Vigil. Keeping watch every day, huh?
I don't recall that name, Counsel. Who is this Mr. Vigil? Why are you bringing him up now?
It's a name I encountered yesterday, my lord. It has to do with a certain client of Mr. Herlock Sholmes. A young gentlewoman came to the detective asking him to locate her missing husband. The woman in this photograph, in fact. This is Mrs. Vigil.
What?
From what I understand, you haven't returned home since the night before the inspector was found dead. But of course, on that night, you were being held captive by the two red-headed League men.
And last night, you were put up by the prosecution service in preparation for testifying in this trial. Because we'd been led to believe that you, Miss Venus, and Mr. Sandwich were all homeless. Being important witnesses in this case, we needed to know where we could find you, of course.
And that explains why you've not only been unable to return home, but also unable to contact your wife. Who's been beside herself with worry, waiting for you at the Vigil residence, by the way.
Now, you hold on a minute.
What I'm talking about? Really? I didn't even get to read that on your dialogue because I was too busy stumbling, but yeah, I predicted your next sentence. It's a simple enough matter to confirm my suspicions. All we have to do is pull off that disguise.
No, please. Bailiff, bring soap, a sponge, and a washbowl at once. Mr. de Rousseau and Mr. de Rossi, you will restrain the witness.
Oui, my lord. Si, my lord. Alright, yeah, go. Ah! Not again, not these two. No, stop. Get off, please. Don't give me a bath, please. Oh, no, I'm clean now. Well, well. Damn. He cleans up. What do you got to say for yourself, Mr. Vigil?
Well, we are now seeing your true features, I presume.
Oh, you even got him a change of clothes. Lift your head, sir, so the court can see your face. No, lift it straight, no tilting.
It would appear that the defense counsel's assertion was entirely correct. Jeez, it's like he's good at his job or something. This has all been a very elaborate deception. So, witnesses, tell the court. Have you seen this man before?
I don't believe it, but...
See, there's no question. This is the inspector we saw in the park.
Extraordinary.
On the day of the Red-Headed League enrollment, the man claiming to be Inspector Gregson who appeared before Mr. Rousseau and Mr. De Rossi in the park was you, disguised as the inspector. Or rather, was you posing as the inspector in no disguise at all? Yeah, what was that all about? Surprised you didn't have a disguise for that. Mr. Vigil was formerly employed as the chief warder at Barclay Prison.
The chief warder? Then your career had promise. Why, you would quite possibly have become the future governor of the prison. What on earth have you been doing peddling tittle-tattle on Fresno Street?
Well, it's been 10 years since Mr. Vigil worked at the prison. 10 years. Go on, explain yourself.
I'm really dreadfully sorry about all of this. Yes, it's true. I am Daily Vigil. And you were the chief warder at Barclay Prison 10 years ago. So where did Mr. Hugh Boone come from? My imagination. Boone is the other me. It's a name I invented. Well, evidently there is a great deal under the surface here. I'll explain everything. I'll tell you just how wretched my life has become.
I'm sure there'll be a huge weight lifted off your shoulders now that we've exposed you.
As you say, it was 10 years ago now that my employment at Barclay's chief warder came to an end. Having left the prison service, I searched for some new occupation by which to earn a wage. But times were hard in London, and I found no suitable engagements at all. In desperation one day, I turned my hand at selling wares on Fresno Street.
But your wife appears to know nothing of this. She still maintains that you are the chief warder at Barclay Prison.
I was utterly determined that my wife should not know about my failings, which is why I've never told her. I opened an account at the bank under the name of Hugh Boone, and I rented the cheapest room I could find on Fresno Street. The scene of the very crime we're investigating. Yes, that's right.
It was your office, was it?
A place from which I could emerge every morning at 8 as a squalid peddler, and transform myself back every evening at 5 into a well-dressed man about town before returning home. That quickly became my daily routine.
Huh.
I was puzzled by the lack of furniture in the room. But that explains it.
But why on earth didn't you just tell us this in the first place?
I have a wife, sir, and 2 sons.
He's embarrassed, you know? He's kept this life for so long, sometimes it's just hard to break out of it.
And without wishing to sound self-conceited, they regard me with some pride. I couldn't bring myself to disappoint them.
I understand. So instead, you decided to conceal your occupation from them?
Yes.
I mean, the longer the lie goes on, the harder it is to reveal it, right? How is he supposed to say, oh, by the way, I got something to tell you, Mrs. Vigil, my wife, my darling wife. I got fired 10 years ago, and I've been peddling info on Fresno Street ever since.
I've made such a terrible mess of everything. Still, one thing doesn't add up. No matter how many tidbits of information you could sell to passing gentlemen, even at 6 pence apiece, you couldn't hope to match the salary you must have commanded as chief warder at the prison. Very true. To have kept your family in comfort, despite 10 years of somewhat misbegotten employment.
Did you have a special sponsor, perhaps? Inspector Gregson? Maybe you're his, ear to the ground.
That was all thanks to Inspector Gregson.
Yeah, there we go.
What?
Inspector Gregson? What on earth?
It was some years after I'd invented Boone and begun my other life as a street seller. The inspector, that is, recognized me one day.
Through your disguise, even.
Do you mean to say the victim was an acquaintance of yours?
I knew him from my time working at the prison. When he saw what I'd become, he was deeply troubled for me and my family. And from that day forward, he visited me on Fresno Street with increasing regularity. Then one day, he asked me if I would carry out a secret assignment for him. Oh, he gave you his identification, did he? A secret? What was it? I was to impersonate the inspector. What? Impersonate him? Oh my. We always met in that little room so the inspector could brief me. Oh, so you've done this on more than one occasion. Visit Orxie's tomorrow and take a statement from the proprietress. It was always something along those lines. Surveillance work, interviewing people. On those occasions, he would lend me his identification so people would believe who I was. My instructions were to make an impression, to let people know that Inspector Gregson had been at work. Oh, okay. Damn, he was a master class of being lazy. And for those services, he compensated me financially.
A Scotland Yard inspector willingly relinquished his identification into your care with intent to deceive. That, as I'm sure I need not point out, is a very serious criminal offence. It carries the death penalty, which I guess has already been carried out.
But why? What was the point of you impersonating him?
I truthfully do not know.
All I can say is that the inspector warned me on numerous occasions. Now remember, Vigil, I need your solemn word. You don't blab about this to anyone, alright? Ever. Even if, well, if I end up a croaker. Oh. What's that all about? Gregson? In time, he started to bring papers with him to the room as well. It became something of a second office for him. So, in fact, the person who declared himself to be Inspector Gregson at the park on Lime Street was really... Yes, it was me, acting on the inspector's orders. As usual, I removed my Boone disguise, and then went as instructed to the park, armed with the inspector's identification book. It never occurred to me that the bruise on my neck might give me away. Damn, you did all that makeup and forgot to cover that up? Goodness me. Lucky you got roped into here. Well, I guess no one else has got anything to say. Well, it would seem this confession completely destroys the defense's case. But no, you can't just bring that up. No. What? I worked hard for that. Damn it.
Explain yourself, Prosecutor Asogi.
My learned friend's assertion was as follows. The victim was killed at another location on the day before his corpse was discovered, at the hands of these two Red-Headed League men who, when they imprisoned the inspector. Oh god. But no, that can't be. Oh god, he's did it again. After all, it wasn't the inspector who went to the park that day. It was me. Oh goodness. Finally, we have clarity. We had nothing to do with the murder of the inspector. And merci, Monsieur de la Defense, for proving it. Walked into another trap from the prosecution. God damn it.